Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. We've got a lot of things to cover, so let's just jump right in. So just like the title and the thumbnail suggests, we're going to talk heavily about artificial intelligence and what's happening. And this is all taken from, it was a Medium post, and it's by Crypto Vortex. And I linked his information in the description below. And if you're just looking for some really good deep dives as far as like on X, and some pretty newer plays in the altcoin market, this would be the person to follow. But this piece that he came up with on Medium, we just talked about AI and just what was happening. And the last piece really got to me because I think we're all kind of sleeping on artificial intelligence right now. I mean, we know it's going to be big, but how big can it be, right? So if we take a look at it, this last couple of sentences pretty much put it all into perspective. It states that NVIDIA, of course, one stock, massive company in the S&P 500, and it's pretty much leading everything else getting into it. One stock is 83 times the size of all of X crypto, AI, which has, and of course, NVIDIA has a market cap of 2.2 trillion. Let me say that again. NVIDIA, one stock, 83 times the size of all AI crypto. To further showcase the undervaluation, dog-themed meme coins, take your pick, are almost double the market cap of total AI coins. Why are we sleeping on it? Why are we just kind of ignoring it? It's just kind of interesting, but I think there's a reason why. It's because it's complex. We don't know really what's going on there. And I think there's a lot of different crypto products that are putting AI behind its name, and they have nothing to do with AI, which is essentially what happened in the dot-com era. You just put .com next to your name, and of course, your stock went through the roof. Anyhow, let's break into it. So if we're taking a look at, of course, the crypto stocks, crypto stocks, AI crypto, we can see that in the last 24 hours, and we just had a nice little pullback, did we not? In the last 24 hours, we've had quite a run up, and it wasn't Bitcoin, and it wasn't L2s, and it wasn't L1s. I mean, some did pretty well, but look at these AI plays: Render, BitTensor, Fetch AI, Singularity, Akash. I don't know what AIO's Z network is, Ocean Protocol, Arkham. I mean, you're looking at 23%, 15, 18%, 18.2, 15.4, and everything across the board. And this is just the actual AI cryptos that they're actually listing. Remember, on CoinGecko, there are a lot of crypto products that aren't necessarily categorized correctly. And that's where we need to really dig into it. So let's just talk about this post. So he talks about what is crypto AI. It includes everything from developing AI models to executing AI-driven tasks in a secure, transparent manner. Industries such as healthcare, logistics, and finance will be disrupted and are the biggest in play. And of course, when we think about AI, the thing I always think about AI, of course, is, well, there's two things. First, I think about the Terminator and, of course, how it's going to destroy the world. And the second thing I think about is all the adorable pictures that we actually make and we render the different videos. And that's pretty much my whole thinking of as far as AI, because I never really dived into it. But I want to bring you into my old profession, which was healthcare. Back in the good old days, I was a medic in the Army. And when I hear about healthcare and about what's going on, I think it's just quite interesting and what's happening. Let me bring this up because we're talking about healthcare. I find this quite fascinating. There's a couple of things. This was a report about how AI is helping people as far as diagnosis. 50-year-old resident in Israel arrived at the Galilee Medical Center for a CT scan, complaining of a headache with whatever other symptoms he has. The patient was sent home to rest. Results typically take 1 to 2 weeks, pretty standard. This time, however, an AI program scanned the data, alerted the doctors to the outside chance the patient could be suffering from IC bleeding, intracranial bleeding, needing immediate attention. AI program is known as Viz AI. I'd never heard of this before. I'm like, that's interesting. They can plug in a bunch of data points and then, of course, AI can spit out what the potential diagnosis could be. It's already been somewhat proven and actually is in practices, but they have a long way to go. Significantly save time, improve patient economic outcomes. Well, I like that, both of those sides. So the doctors immediately sent for the patient and operated because it looked like he did potentially have this IC bleed. Patient's life was saved, credited the quick artificial diagnosis, shaved 2 weeks between the scan and treatment. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That guy would have been dead. Dr. Paz of the Galilee Medical Center said, without it, the patient would probably not have come to us or would have come to us too late and would have expired. And there's stuff like that. Another great story, a young kid, 4 years old and under. He saw, and in the comment section, tell me if this isn't somebody you know or is you yourself. I used to see this a lot. People would come in and they would say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I have these problems. I've been to multiple doctors and they cannot figure out. A boy saw 17 doctors over 3 years for chronic pain. And ChatGPT figured it out in an afternoon. So this kid, there he is right there, Alex, 17 doctors. And the mom was like, I don't know why I keep getting these different diagnoses. So she put all his scans, all his lab reports, all his H&Ps, history and physicals, and everything else in ChatGPT, and it spit out and said, hey, Alex here could have a diagnosis of a tethered cord syndrome. So, and they went and did a CT scan after their 18th doctor, and they found out that, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's like a closed case of spina bifida, if you've ever heard about that. And they discovered it. He had surgery, and now he's recovering, and he's on the road to amend. So, like, I see stuff like that. I'm like, this is great. And then there's another story that, well, of course, everybody loves. This is from some gentleman. ChatGPT saved my dog's life. Essentially the same thing. He's put in all the different documentation and lab results, and it spit out that he could have had anemia, low platelet count, which they knew, and it came out to hemolysis, destruction of red blood cells and agglutination. Essentially saved the dog's life. So when we think about these things about AI, it's just something I don't really think about. I think about like the worst case, the world's ending, or like some pictures. And of course, now we see stuff like this. I can get behind that. That makes sense. Now the question is, how does this relate to crypto AI? Let's get to that right now. So crypto can lead to AI models, access to AI tech, individuals and small entities to access AI tools and services that were previously the domain of large corporations. And we actually talked about this with Minutes Network, which is a DePIN play. It's not a crypto AI, but it's the same philosophy. And we talked about the DePIN layer, and you may notice that right here, you've got a couple of big players, Akash, Kudos, Flux, Theta, Render, FXLand. This is the AI play, also for the DePIN layer. And what was interesting about it is, if you think about these large, huge, massive companies, Google comes to mind, Amazon Web Service comes to mind, that kind of gets us out of it. But crypto and holding these tokens and actually doing some stuff like this could actually bring us in. What I'm talking about, of course, is this. What would you rather do as a big corporation? Would you rather say, okay, I want to, especially a startup, I want to build a massive, massive warehouse, Amazon, Google, and I want to put that in with massive amounts of NVIDIA H100s, $10,000 per processing or GPU. I want to pay people to service it. I want to pay for the electricity. I want to pay for the permits. I want to pay for the upkeep and everything else. And I'll make a lot of money. Good luck. Because, I mean, you can do that if you're Google and Amazon, because that's what it is. But why don't you just do this if you're like an individual, like a startup, or like people who like us and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you just do this? Use my processor in my computer or in my graphics card, and I will allow you to use that for the computational power of artificial intelligence that needs a massive amount of this computation. Stuff like Akash, stuff like Hypercycle, stuff like Theta, Render, and then for file storage, of course, you have Filecoin and Arweave. And you just say, look, I don't have the time to actually build this stuff. I'm going to give this to you. And we talk about this the same in telecommunications. Of course, you can build up these large towers for millions of dollars, or you can just say, hey, once you have a node, and we'll pay you in tokens. But I digress from all this stuff. This is just, again, why it's not so much about the big players owning everything. It filters down to people like us who might be looking into the AI sector and getting a part of that. So again, if we take a look at the current landscape of crypto and AI integration, here's some of the bigger names like we just talked about: Render, Akash, Kudos, Nosana, BitTensor. I think that's one of the bigger ones. I think it's like number 2, as a matter of fact. And we can take a look, we can extrapolate this data and take a look at the growth or the interest that's being put out there. This is from Google Trends, and it doesn't give you a precise monthly count of how much is actually as far as the hits or the amount per all the different websites for artificial intelligence. But if you look over time, it looks like we're going all the way back to 2019 or something like that. You can see that in the last year or so, this is when the highest amount of interest in AI has come. Now, the last month or so, or 2 months, it's dropped down a little bit, but this is the time when AI is really popping off. And then just to put this into further perspective, AI tokens ranked as the second best performing category over the last 3 months. Now, this may have changed because this data is from Dune Analytics as of January 2nd, 2024. We've got 2 months, and of course, 2 months in the crypto sphere, and especially in AI, is an eternity. So L2s, I don't know if they're doing that great. I think AI might have actually beat them, but I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments section. And then looking at this, top 15 countries leading interest in the AI crypto narrative in 2024. I found this interesting because when you look at this, US, United Kingdom, India, Netherlands, Australia, Canada, Poland, what's one big country that you see that's missing on this one? It's China. Why isn't China into crypto? Well, the reason why China's not into crypto is because China's not into AI. Why isn't China into AI? They are into AI. Massively into AI. There is a race right now to create the best artificial intelligence to actually own that piece of the sector and dominate, because that is essentially the next web. That, of course, the countries that embrace that really led to a flourishing of empires, I guess, if you want to say it. And the reason why they're not into crypto AI is because, again, it gives it back to the people. They are more centralized. They are more of, we will control it. We do not like decentralization. Correct me in the comment section if you're from China. And if you're from China, let me know how you got around the provisions that don't allow you to get into YouTube and USA. But anyhow, again, crypto AI, I think, is for the smaller individuals like ourselves. So coins that fit the narrative, which is why you're here, right? Akash. And Akash is one that I actually own. Everything that I'm talking about today, I'm either going to own or do own. So don't think this is just me being benevolent and just being so nice. It's just because I am talking about my bags. So Akash is the Airbnb for server hosting. It allows users to lease computing resources from others with spare capacity. Again, just like the information that we took a look at here. Why would we build this up when we can just pay somebody a token and use their GPUs, right? It allows users to lease computing resources from others with spare capacity. It offers almost 9,000 CPUs and 171 GPUs. Remember this number, 171 graphic processing units for Akash. Interesting. Akash Network user increased rapidly in 2024. Looks to be that way. Also, there's one called Fetch. And Fetch, I believe, is like in number 3 or number 4. It offers tools to build, deploy, and monetize AI service. It is the 3rd largest AI coin with 3 billion in market cap. Now, I own a little bit of Fetch AI, but I sold Fetch AI. And one of the reasons why I did is because there was a great video, and it was by a guy from Coin Bureau. I don't have the resources that his organization does. They did a great video on Fetch AI, not on Filecoin AI. That's on their main channel. This is through their Coin Bureau Club. And if you watch this video, it makes you second guess yourself as far as like what Fetch AI is doing and the practices behind it. And that's really all I can say. You have to watch the video to make up a decision for yourself. A link in the description. You can check that out. A lot of great videos on what's happening in all this space. And then, 3rd largest AI with 3 billion market cap. Makes you wonder how that works out. And again, if we're looking at the crypto space, what really pushes the narrative? Well, it's speculation, it's hype, and it's greed. But here's the top 5 AI coins in terms of market cap. They've significantly outperformed Bitcoin and ETH in 2023. Interesting. So again, Fetch AI crushed it. AGIX, Graph, Ocean, Tau, and Bitcoin and ETH. Even though Bitcoin did really well, 153%. It's not like AGIX and Fetch. Just saying. So taking a look at that, there was a couple there. We took a look at Fetch. We took a look at Akash. Now let's take a look at a couple others. So this one is called Hypercycle AI. And I like this one because it's the same thing that we were just talking about. Again, I'm not a big, large corporation, and I don't have the resources to build massive amount of warehouses and to store everything. And that's what Hypercycle essentially is doing, allow things to communicate back and forth and run nodes and increase that computational power to drive artificial intelligence because there's so much apparently demand. We'll get to that. I'm not 100% sure there is that much demand. I'll get to that. Next one is called, I think I'm saying this right, Aether. I don't know for sure. But this one doesn't even have a token out yet. This is a very new one that I'll be at some point talking about on Dan Degen. This is like the risky plays. But they've got a lot of good backers. Sanctor, Maelstrom, UB Capital, Gate.io, Bybit, Game Publishing, Gaming Cloud, and AI. And of course, it's all about sticking those GPUs into a warehouse at somewhere, shape, or form, and allowing people to use those GPUs. And I think one thing that was interesting about it is that it's got pretty big backers as well as like Arthur Hayes. So if you know from BitMEX, that would be one of them. So that looks like a pretty good project. Again, I'll get deep into it. But for all these projects, there's going to be something that is not going to look right. There's going to be something that you're going to say, that doesn't really match up. And that's why I like to do a lot of research on X. This was from Crypto Astrologist. And just yesterday, or actually 21 hours ago, he says, hey, Ether, I think I'm saying that right, has the same bad smell as Satoshi VM. Impossible Finance's research report, and lists the blog right here on Ether, is super misleading. Out of 41,800 GPUs, 31,280 are Rockchip RK3588s. RK3588s aren't even GPUs, they're SoCs. They're just smaller versions. And he lays it out. He's like, look, good Lord. All right, I got to get out of here. I hate when that happens. He says, Rockchips, that's 31,000. The NVIDIA Tesla T4 440 and all these are they're CPUs, GPUs, and this is essentially the computational power. So total, it's 41,888. But they say it's very misleading because the Rockchips are so many, but they're the smaller versions, which I have to give them credit for. That's very true. In a table where they compare Ether to the competitors, they use this number to show the number of GPUs, but over 75% of them are, like I said, not GPUs, they're SoCs. So they lay it out. Aether, Akash, Render, Gens, I don't know what that is. IO.net, which we'll get to that in a second. So the number of GPUs, it says 40,000, but like you said, like Crypto Astrologist said, it's like, look, that's not all of them. 40,000 compared to like Akash's 150, that doesn't make any sense. Compared to Render, that's a 10x of what they actually have. How'd they do that? Well, there's a couple things. First of all, if you take a look at all this data, you really have to break it down by T-flops and A100s. First of all, what the heck's a T-flop and what's an A100? It's a great question. So first of all, the A100s are the $10,000 NVIDIA chip that everybody's after. And I think there's like a 6-month waiting period. So again, powering many of these applications, a roughly 10,000 chip that's become one of the most critical tools in the artificial intelligence industry, the NVIDIA A100. And the teraflop, what the heck is that? I didn't know what that was either. So what are teraflops? It's a processor's capability to calculate 1 trillion floating point operations per second. So higher the number, the more the calculations. So that just makes sense, right? Let's just keep it as simple as we possibly can. So again, let's take a look at this. The number of A100s, those super expensive NVIDIA chips, $10,000, they still have 4,000. That's a lot. Akash has 93. Render looks like it has 0, but it's not their thing, right? It's not like they're having this massive amount. They're for rendering smaller projects. And then IO.net is 460, which is pretty good. And the teraflops, if we take a look at this, hey, 169,000 compared to 3,000 or almost 4,000 for Akash, to 85,000, which is essentially half of what Render. But look at IO.net, 483,000 teraflops. That's a lot, apparently. And here's the cost though, 33 cents, $1.10, 40 cents, 76, 89 cents. So you've always got trade-offs. And that's the great thing right there. So 30% is pretty good. I think so. Scalability enterprise. So taking a look at that, that's the data that we actually have, which would make Ether, how do you say it, look like a pretty decent project. Again, we'll see how it all works out. I'm not for sure. So on top of that, there's also Theta. Now, Theta is a project that I've been holding, or been buying since 2020 and 2021. Now I took some profits along the way, but Theta has pivoted a little bit. Theta, when I was into it, what I remember, it was Theta and Theta TV. They use the edge clouds. You could actually store the video files along everybody's different computers, and then they can kind of bring them together to make the actual video file, instead of like Google having all these massive storage facilities where they would store all the video files. And then of course, when people use them, then they would kick them out, just like what it is with YouTube right now, essentially what you're watching. They just did it in a decentralized way. But now Theta is doing this. Its mission is to provide developers, researchers, enterprises, large and small, with unlimited access to GPU processing power for any AI or video task at the most optimal cost. Edge Cloud Phase 1 is estimated to launch on May 1st, 2024. So they got a little while. Theta Edge Network launched in 2021 with Mainnet 3.0 focus on GPU-intensive video processing required for encoding, transcoding, distribution. That's what I remember. Today, Theta's global network of nearly 10,000 edge nodes run by community members comprise one of the largest clusters of distributed GPU computing power in the world. Very decentralized. And then it breaks down like, here's the GPUs, the large, the medium, and the smalls. All you got to know is this. Total approximately 77,000 T-flops. There's a word you're never going to forget. So again, if we take a look at T-flops, 77,000, it's pretty good. It's right in line with Render, and apparently more than Akash, but again, they're more for storage. And T-flops is roughly half of what Aether has. But look at this, IO.net, 483,000 T-flops. What's this? I hadn't even heard about this until I read this article. Here's IO.net. They put out a piece that says GPU's demand is escalating 2x every 3 months. Now that may be true, but if you go to their site and you sign up like I did, you can see, and this is real time, these are all the different GPUs that they have available. And look at this, 20 cents an hour, 36 cents an hour, 20. You see how much is busy? Now I could be interpreting this data wrong, and I would love to have these guys on. It looks like a reasonable project, but I can just tell you, not too much space being, wow, there's one here. That's good, 100% busy, awesome. And down we go, and down we go, and down we go. Which makes me wonder, I'm like, if it's so cheap, and I like this, it's got IO.net, 44,000 GPUs, Render, almost 5,000, and Filecoin, 1,000. Nice little spacer. It makes me wonder just how big this could be. I mean, are we that early? Maybe we are. And just so you know, because the first thing I was thinking, I was like, well, where's the token? IO Coin is the native cryptocurrency and protocol token of IO.net. IO Coin is launching Q2 2024. Stay tuned. So nothing's out right now, and that's what we have. And all these things that we talked about, I link those in the description so you can do some more research for yourself. And I will probably be investing into them a little bit, but who knows? And that's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Everything we talk about is time sensitive.